How's it going, everybody? It's Jason Ostrowski, and welcome to another edition of the Everything Real Estate Podcast. This week, we're going to sit down and have a conversation with an educational department cohort of mine, Shirley Lang. Shirley is a trainer for Fox and Roach, but she also is a team leader of the Shirley Lang team. They are based out of the Macungie office, and we're going to talk about finishing the year strong because, again, we are at a point in the year where it's very easy to slow up. It's very easy to slow down, take it easy, kind of coast to the finish line and just prepare for next year. But if your intention at the beginning of this year was to give yourself the best opportunity to make this the best year of your career, then let's make sure that we have a sprint to that finish line. Let's make sure that we are doing everything that we can to have your best year possible and to make 2021 the greatest year you've ever had, and going into 2022 give you that momentum that will propel yourself forward into the new year. So let's get right into the conversation this week with Shirley, and we'll pick it up on the other side. Let's say hi to Shirley. Shirley, how you doing today?
Great. Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be on the podcast with you, Jason. I was super excited when I was invited to do this with you. And there's so much that we can really unpack here today about finishing our year strong. And I like to jump right in it. I loved how you talked about running through the tape, because that is where we're at now. It is the end of our real estate year and the beginning of our new year, which is why it's all about goal setting right now. So we do want to finish our year strong, and we have some very specific, topics that we can talk about, and ideas and action items that we can be sharing with people to finish the year strong.
Let's start out, first and foremost, I think that the number one priority right now of anybody that is trying to finish the year strong is business planning, because this is the time of year, without a doubt. Number one, we want to put together a business plan for the remainder of the year. I usually do 12-week segments that I kind of break down during the year. It's based off the book, The 12-Week Year. I've talked about that before on previous podcasts. And right now you have a golden opportunity to finish those last 12 weeks with a new business plan, some new goals, some new objectives to set, and sit down and think about realistically what you want to do for the remainder of the year and how do you get there? Because that will remotivate you, I think, number one, to kind of finish the year strong. But also, we want to think about the year ahead of us and what is coming, and think about our pipeline for the future. And now is the time to start putting together your business plan for the next year, 2022. And what that is going to bring. It's crazy to even talk about the year 2022. I thought we were going to have flying cars by now. I guess that's a little off in the future. So Shirley, let's start there. Let's talk about business planning and your take on just, the year ahead and how to strategize and to do that properly.
Great. And, I'm going to refer to Gino Blafari's email that he sent, where he actually attached a, back of a napkin type business plan, as well as a fabulous template that he shared with all of our agents so that they could have something to use and at least refer to as their planning. And so I'm going to be referring a lot to that particular email, but, he hit so strong on so many points. And like you were saying, we're starting to slow down. We're starting to get tired. It's been a very busy year. A lot of us did fabulously in 2020, and there were a ton of agents who maybe didn't do so well because of the pandemic. And now we've muscled through. And like you said, it's hard. It's blowing our minds to think that we're talking about 2022, but we've muscled our way through 2021. We're almost at the end of the year, and we just need to really think about our the key objectives, right? We're going to review what we've done. What have we accomplished? Did we hit our goals? If we didn't hit our goals, what are we're going to reset those goals. But we want to talk about all of the prospecting that we need to do and continue doing so we finish the year strong. Lead generation, of course, as well as the planning of, the 12-week year or the last 3 months of this particular year. And so I think what's really important is understanding when you said, okay, like, what are we going to do here? Understanding what our goals are, where are they coming from? What's our why around those goals? Like, these are all the points that Gino hits upon. And he gives us like a few, just like, here you go. And I know one of them was they're all basic. Establish your goals and your milestones. Let's just start there. Take the time to, like, to your point, look at your competition, look at your market. I work by referral. It takes us sometimes an hour from where we are. We try really hard not to go much further than that. So we do tap into other markets. But the point is, who's our competition right here? And what can we do to get a leg up on that? What are those action items that we need to set into place to maybe tap into a different market or pillar of business for ourselves? Please chime in, because, oh my gosh, I'll keep talking, Jason.
No, I totally agree with you. I think, we need to talk about our goals. Okay. So first and foremost, let's just talk, let's lead by example here, right? When I do my goals for the year, I'm thinking about, number one, whether it be just, and let's talk about a business plan, because you can be very intricate and be very detailed to the point of kind of nauseum with your business plan, right? So you can do the extreme version of a business plan where you have everything detailed out to the nth degree, or you could do a napkin business plan. It doesn't matter. Whatever works for you, I think number one is the most important. For me, I talk about, what is my unit goal, right? What is my volume goal? What is my award level goal? Because I think that's always important. If that's important to you, you should strive to get to that point, right? You need a motivator. And to me, that's just a personal motivator. I also think about what my average price point is going to be. That's incredibly important. And Shirley, you and I had a conversation about that kind of off camera. I always strive to increase my price point and how I am going to do that. Okay. So I do those things. And then I also break it down to where the business came from. And you'll hear about this a lot. If you're putting your money into a place that is not getting much return for you or ROI, then why are you going to continue to do that, right? But at the same time, you do need to give everything an honest shot when you're marketing. I always say, try something for a year. And if it doesn't work, then you move on. If it does work, continue to do it and then branch out from there and add something else that's new onto it. So there should be a trial and error aspect to what you're doing every year too. But for me, that's pretty much the way that I do it. And I just keep a running total every time. I know my GCI, I know my volume, I know all my numbers in advance. Now, those are the goals, and we're going to talk about the objectives a little bit. But Shirley, do you want to add anything in personally, what you do in your business plan? How do you go about doing it?
We do exactly what you're saying. We do it, maybe we're following more of a template. And this year we will be using the one that Gino shared with us. That's the goal. So, but at the end of the day, I think this is where some agents, and I will tell you, this is how I was in the beginning. Prior to coming to Berkshire Hathaway, I didn't even know what I was doing. And then when I came to Berkshire Hathaway and I had the amazing support that I have here and the encouragement and the right tools, I still didn't know exactly what I was doing because I didn't have the structure, I didn't have the experience. But what I can tell you is that's where I was taught, think about your goal. So I want agents to hear this and say to themselves, okay, this can be really overwhelming, but let's chunk it down. Let's use that back of the napkin kind of idea, or like you said, just jot down a few things. Even if you're a new agent, if you're new in the business, you've had no sales, what your average price point is in your area. Pick a number. Some of us are if you're going to do it based on, like you said, why the goal? What's your why? Well, if it's for a new car, if it's to pay the mortgage, if it's to put kids through school, if it's just because I wanted to make decent money doing something I love, I don't have a big, ta-da goal, then it's maybe, is it only 3 transactions a year? Is it 12? Whatever that is. But like you said, I think knowing those numbers, what is your average price point? How many units versus sales volume do you want? At least have an idea of that. That way it's not so overwhelming. You might be a seasoned agent, or if you have a team or you don't have a team, doesn't matter. You might be very in tune with your tracking and your measuring and your data, if you will. Jason, on the absolute best day, I'm never going to be that data analytics girl. I have someone who does that for me. I even said to them, Jason asks me questions about my numbers. Oh my God, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to answer that. Because everyone says, know your numbers. If you're a good business person, you know your numbers. I think a lot of stuff is overwhelming for agents. So let's chunk this down. It's so easy. Just know, what is your goal? Is it to hit the average, which is somewhere around $45,000 a year at the very least, or is it, 100,000, whatever that might be. Then we can then we can go backwards and figure out how many calls we need to make, and then that ties into what I know you're, going to help us with here, because it's the touches. So after we figure out what is your goal and understanding your why around the goal, not being as overwhelmed about it, but then, okay, now what do we need to do? And I think that's what's so overwhelming. When Barb Hodick said to me, am I allowed to throw Barb's name out there?
Absolutely. Shout out to Barb.
When my manager said to me, you're going to need to make at least 40 calls a week, I was like, what? I'm lucky if I could make one a day. And when I made one, I ran into her office. I was like, I made a call. The truth of the matter is it can just be so overwhelming. And the idea is just to get it on a piece of paper, chunk it down so you know how many touches. And in October, November, and December, we're touching all our people. And it's so easy because you're touching them to say thank you for your continued support.
Yeah, and I think you're getting into some of the objectives there, and I think we talk about the big goal, right? And that is our actual business plan. But how are we going to get there, right? And those are the objectives. And so I don't want to just keep this being pie in the sky. Let's set some huge numbers. Like if you're thinking about a goal setting in general, to me, I think one thing that I like to do in general is just be realistic about. It's good to have a stretch goal, right? I think it's good to have a goal in mind. And ultimately, I want to make, let's just say, if you're out there, I want to make $300,000 a year, right? And you're just starting out as an agent. It's great to have that goal, and you can achieve that goal. There is no doubt in my mind. You put in the work, you will achieve that goal. But for me personally, what I tend to do is I think about where we are in the market, right? We've had an insane market. Appreciation has been crazy the past couple of years. And now we're getting into 2022. And, the prediction is that it will still appreciate, but it may just not be as much. And inventory may be a little bit better moving forward. And the market may just start to slightly slow down just a little bit. Not swing towards the buyer's market that we had way back when, but it could become a little bit more balanced, right? So what does that mean for my business? I think that's important too, because ultimately we want to make sure, number one, that we keep our pipeline steady, we get our book of business steady. But inevitably, if, let's just say for the sake of argument, prices are supposed to appreciate, well, that may affect my average price point. And I may set my average price point based on where it was this year, and then I might add a little bit more in because the average price point is going to go up, right? Same with the unit goals. If I know that there's not a lot of listing inventory out there, I may think about, well, what's a reasonable unit goal to go with? There's a lot of guesstimating here, right? And But at the same time, I want to still grow my numbers. And so this past year, I had a goal where I basically increased, over 2020 into 2021. My goal was to kind of increase everything by a third, if I could do that. Right. I luckily have, unfortunately, have surpassed my goals this year already, which is great, but what were my objectives to get there? Well, we talk about, again, we go back to price point. One of the things that I've done is I started farming some new neighborhoods with different price points, making sure that I got out marketing materials to those communities consistently, every month. And I've gotten business from that. It's helped to raise my price point. I've also made sure that I've marketed to my sphere, at least once a month, if I can do that, electronically and something through the mail. Then it may be multiple times a month, but I got repeat business from move up clients that are moving to a bigger price point now because I got them as first time home buyers. Now they're buying their second home and they're ready to move up. So that's another way that I'm increasing my price point. So I think you have to think things through in that way. How are we going to gain more business? How are we going to increase the price point? What is the strategy? What is the objective? Mm-hmm, and I think we have to think that through. As far as units go, in this market, hopefully you're increasing your units because there are plenty of buyers out there. There is plenty of business right now for people to potentially, take advantage of. So hopefully you're doing more units, but you have to think about strategically, how am I going to do this? You mentioned if there's, Jimmy Burgess had said, if there's a big name in some area, do you go after that area or not? My philosophy is there's plenty of business for all of us. If there is a neighborhood that you want to take on, you take it on, right? Nobody owns any property or any neighborhood, despite what some agents may think. If there is a market out there that you think is going to be advantageous to your business, by all means, market to that area and try and make inroads yourself. Do you agree with that, Shirley?
Totally agree. And I love, because you were speaking right to one of those points that Gino was making. I just needed to jot down a note here where, he talked about dealing with the economic conditions effectively. That was, one of the reasons why we need a business plan. So, when you looked at your business, and I kind of started there and then went off on a tangent where, you look at your business, you looked at 2020, reviewed it for the year of 2021. Well, now did you come back? Did you do better? Did you have a slump because you had an amazing 2020 and then suddenly you didn't have as much 2021? So, to your point, then kick it up a third or whatever your magic number is. But I think one of the things that we want to take a look at is examining, the economic conditions because, like you said, those price points, they went up and they're still going up. So by default, we're going to be looking at a higher price point, even if you've never had a sale yet because you're new. So don't be afraid of that as a new agent. Your consistency. When we talk about that, that's the key. Like that's always been the key word, and people don't understand it till you do it. That's the hard part about this business. It's not a get rich quick. It really is like the compound effect. It really is building blocks, starting somewhere. And we want to try everything, most of us anyway, just want to try anything and everything and just hope something happens for us. But, if we stick to something very consistently, like you said, pick one neighborhood to farm. Maybe it really is diving into your own database. Brian Buffini calls it your own acres of diamonds. You're standing right on it. You don't even know it because you don't know how to tap into it yet. So I love what you were saying. And then the new opportunities for growth and revenue. Like we definitely want to look at what are those new opportunities. And, that's something here. We have an agent here who's been super successful. We call him Makunji Mick because we always tease like he owns everybody in Makunji. He just has to breathe, and he has 6 listings that day. But he always says, Shirley, there's plenty of business to go around. Like there's plenty out there for us. So we've got to be brave enough to tap into the market. Not be afraid because, someone, their name is on it and they're a really great agent.
And we can give people ideas on what to do, right? But there's a million different ways to get business in real estate. You have to find what works for you in particular, because what works for you may not work for somebody else. They have to find their own way, and there is plenty of business for all of us. But I think going back to what you originally said, I really do believe that, especially for new agents that are listening, is that there is no magic bullet when it comes to real estate. It is, first and foremost, it is your consistency. That's what it boils down to, time and time again. If you are consistent with networking, then networking is going to work for you. If you are consistent with your mailings, hopefully your mailings eventually will work for you. If you're consistently calling people, then your calls are what is going to work for you. So I think it's a blend of doing these things consistently that lets you cover the most area for your marketing, right? And so I truly do believe, I always believed in kind of three pillars, right? You want to do something online. So whether that's, social media, if you're great at social media, that's awesome. If that works for you, that's great. But some type of online marketing, whether that's social media or some other, electronic form of media that you are using to market to your sphere, something that you can hold in your hand or tangible, something like a postcard, something like a handwritten note, something like a mailing. Those things work as well. And then the last thing is word of mouth and networking, right? So you want to make sure that you're networking with your clients, you're getting together with them every so often, you're doing those pop-bys, your face-to-face, your voice-to-voice. I do think a blend of those three things will get you the most business moving forward. And that's kind of just my philosophy. That's what I kind of abide by. I don't want to overcomplicate the process. That's just kind of what I do. And if I feel like there is something that I haven't done for a while, like I just did Popeyes, I was telling you before we got on this call, I was delivering mums to my clients yesterday with a handwritten note, just thanking them for their business in 2021. I also went back and I kind of gave some mums to some people where, maybe I think they're going to think about moving pretty soon, right? So I want to make sure that I stay in touch with those clients. So I spent all day driving around delivering mums. It was fun. And I got a lot of feedback from that. Shirley, let's talk a little bit about, some things that we can do. So the first thing that I think that this is a great time of year to do this, and this goes back to Jimmy Burgess and my conversation way back when about doing unsolicited video CMAs for your clients, right? Everybody loves to know what their home is worth in this market right now. They kind of get dollar signs in their eyes. They kind of rub their hands together. They want to know how much money has appreciated since they bought their house. And they want to know what their home is worth because they know that it's a seller's market. So let's take advantage of that. Do a video for them and send that out to them before the end of the year. That is one thing that I am going to do. Also, an annual real estate review. If you're not doing a video CMA, maybe you want to meet with your clients, even over Zoom, if you're not comfortable doing it in person at this point. But if not, meet with your clients. Go, just spend a little time with them. Tell them that it's their annual real estate review. You are their real estate agent for life. You want to provide a service and value to your clients. So don't be afraid about doing that as well. Shirley, do you want to add in anything specific that you're going to be working on, the next 3 months or so?
Sure, absolutely. But I have to say this, and you'll have to reel me back in maybe if I get off topic again. But I wanted to say, I was going to mention David Knox's last podcast interview, and it was hilarious because when the very first thing he said was, he believes 100%, first thing you have to do is goal setting. And he was hilarious when he was like, if you're not going to do it, if you're not going to listen to this, if you're not going to, set your goals, then please stop listening, turn it off. And it was really kind of funny. And I think to some points that I'm pulling from what he shared in that podcast, those ideas were really going to be helpful. When you said about the video CMA, hey, I'll put that on the top of my list and see if I can do that. I haven't done any of those video CMAs yet, but we absolutely do the real estate reviews. And those real estate reviews, as you know, can be a little bit more in depth, but hopefully it's just a simple, this is what happened in your particular subdivision, market, zip code, however dense or, rural your area might be that you're focusing in on. But the bottom line is that annual real estate review is a fantastic way. If you're going to do it to finish off the year, or are you going to do it, maybe do those in January, however you want to make sure you get that in there, as long as you're touching your clients this year. And with the ideas that we're talking about now, Jason, I want agents to feel like they don't have to do this one thing. There's a number of things that could resonate with you, be more comfortable for you, but you got to do something, pick it, right? And so the social media, I sort of had a chuckle because I'm a dinosaur, so I'm not digging the social media stuff, but that doesn't mean it's not hugely valuable. But it sort of made me chuckle because of the way David was like, yeah, social media. It's kind of how some of us feel, well, okay, but at the end of the day, pick something that's going to get you appointments. Because the idea is to get, like you just said it, face-to-face, voice-to-voice. And we have to be on purpose. So we have to really think this through. And if we're going to do those real estate reviews, that's awesome, because it's an awesome way to say, here's my gift to you, and not wait to the new year. Because, we've got ideas for the new year to touch everybody. Like in January, you can send out, the final alta that you did for every single transaction that you had. That'll be a way to touch them. But right now, to your point, I think that's a fantastic idea. And I am going to put video CMA on there because I think that's something I need to build that. I need to work on that muscle. I've got my own fears around there, but so be on purpose, do what you can to set appointments, get face to face, and the ideas are really, we're going very hard and heavy, making sure that we touch everybody. So we just did this big event for October. For me personally, I think my number, I don't know, maybe it was 300 that I invited. I had, and this is the thing, it doesn't matter how many people come, because what I want everybody to hear is if you invite 10 or you invite 1,000, I don't care what the number is, then the key is following up. It gives you the opportunity, you sent the invitation to whatever the event is you might do now in October, in November or December. It gives you the opportunity to call behind the invitation. Hey, I'm just checking to make sure you received it because I didn't see an RSVP. So we're doing a reverse pop-by, and we are going to host that. I'm sure lots of, you've heard it, but we are doing apple and pumpkin pies. Only do pumpkin. They're the least expensive. Like, do what's in your budget. Only invite your top best 10 if that's all you can afford, or whatever. But every year do it, because then that particular event will grow. I think our first event that I did that I'm referring to, it was a summer picnic. We changed it to October because of COVID. I think I had one person, maybe. I don't know if one person came, if it just ended up being me. And so it was super exciting to hear, that, oh, wow, I had 48 people showed up to this thing. Oh, wow, that's super cool.
Yeah.
But now you get to say a note to everybody who came. Thank you so much for coming. It was so great to see you, period. And then again, you get to say, so sorry I missed you at our, Oktoberfest. And I'm going to put you at the top of our list for our next event. Keep your eyes open for it, because that'll be our pop-by event. So sort of see like what we're doing as a team.
And that is so awesome. I want to touch on a couple of those things that you mentioned. So one is that, I did the Popeyes, you're doing the pickup. So I reference that as Popeyes and pickups, right? Because a lot of people like to do the pies this time of year. That's a popular item and people love that stuff, right? But I also love the fact that you mentioned it's an opportunity to follow up with your clients, whether they came or they didn't come, right? And follow up with them, just have the touch. Plus, you gain momentum for the following years, because I think the more that you do it, again, consistency, right? The more that you do it, the more likely your clients are likely to show up, and I think that gains momentum year after year. There are some agents that have huge gobs of people coming to pick up pies every year. I know, talking to a couple agents, that they haven't come to their house or they haven't come to the office. It becomes a whole thing, and it becomes an annual thing that people look forward to. So that's number one. Number two, you had mentioned, you kind of have it kind of planned out, your marketing, right? So not only should you be doing a business plan, but a marketing plan for the year ahead is something that you should look into as well, because once we start to get busy, we kind of get away from what we know we need to do, right? If you write down your marketing plan, okay, I want to get out this newsletter in January, and then I'm going to follow up with something fun in February. Maybe that's a Popeye, or, you need a marketing plan as well for the year ahead to keep you on track, to let you know, am I doing what I need to do? Am I performing on my end? Am I holding up my end of the bargain on my goals, not only business wise, but marketing wise, because the marketing is going to get you to your goals, right? If you're not marketing, what are you doing? You're not getting the word out about yourself. Business tends to not fall into your lap. And if it does, then you're a very lucky person. So, I think that's the other thing that we need to talk about when it comes to business. We talk about the real estate gods all the time, right? I feel like things have a way of evening out. If you're in a slump right now, but you are doing everything right out there in terms of your marketing, in terms of, trying really hard to get business, you will be rewarded. It's only a matter of time. And on the flip side of that, if you're doing business right now, but you're not doing anything to market for your pipeline in the future, that's going to come back and bite you, because things do tend to even out. Eventually, that pipeline is going to dry up because you're not replenishing your marketing. You're not talking to your clients. You're working in your business, but not on your business, And I think that's the trap that we often get into. One thing that I do want to mention on top of what we already talked about is also, this is a great opportunity for you, if you're not quite as busy as you were earlier in the year, to clean up your database and make sure that you are cleaning your database. Get rid of those clients that you're like, well, I'm never going to work with that person again. Let's just be honest about it. Some clients are extremely difficult. There's a difficult transaction. And sometimes, you want to get rid of, that dead weight and just say, look, I'm going to get this person out of my database. Or you want to add 10 people into your database. You met someone this past week at the grocery store. You haven't gotten them to the database yet. Make sure you do that as well. And that way you will know what works. Is your business primarily referral-based business? Where is it coming from? Are you getting internet leads? Where is it coming from? Know where it's coming from and hit that pressure point, right? Make sure that you're marketing to that group or that area, because that's going to get you more business. So, Shirley, did you want to add on that? I'm sure you do good work with your CRM, but do you want to say anything about, cleaning up your database? Do you do that this time of year?
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's a couple of times that you want to be doing it throughout the year, of course, but most definitely you want to be doing it at the end of this year. The reason why it's easier at this time of year is because the goal for us on our team is to touch every single person in our database. Our A pluses, of course, we follow the Buffini methodology, and we have interjected, if you will, a lot of the ninjas. So we definitely treat, like A pluses are the people who have already referred us. They may not even have done business with us, but they are referring us. There are, walking, talking advertisements, right? And so they get treated, with the pies or something special, a special Popeye, whatever the case may be. But the reason that it's so easy now is because you're looking at those names. And I just had my assistant mention to me the other day, we got an envelope back. It was a name from somebody in my database that gets a newsletter. She was like, Mom, do you know where this person, she happens to be my daughter, do you know where this person moved? And I was like, wow, like, I know, of course, I know the name. I used to work with her. I haven't been on purpose. I haven't intentionally kept in touch with her. It happens. And so the bottom line is, if you take the opportunity to the goal being either adding to your database right now if you don't have any, but cleaning up your database right now if you have a ton of people you haven't even talked to, called, you have no idea, be on purpose, either move them into a different category, group them differently, or just get them out of there, But to your point, yes, we absolutely take advantage of doing that at this time of year, and we get better and better at it. I always say to the team, we fail forward lots of times. We have good intentions, but again, the idea is to, have the objective in place, have it written down that we're going to do it, and you're going to hit some number of that. If we only get through part of it, Jason, then that's okay. At least we've moved the ball forward a little bit. And what I'm hoping for with us talking about this, I was so excited to be able to have this time and platform to share with our agents. For the ones who are so seasoned, they're like been in the business forever, they might need this just as an affirmation, like, yeah, I got it down. And, given the boost, like, yeah, I'm going to keep going with my amazing goal setting. And maybe the opposite. There might be somebody who's like resting on their laurels or just so good and they always do well, but they're thinking, maybe I will set a little goal this year. Mm-hmm. And for new agents, that it's so overwhelming. There's so much stuff. So, lean into any kind of information that we get, like from Gino, I keep referring to that because he packed a lot of punch in that email and the attachments he shared with us, like to remember that his acronym, his SMART, set specific goals. What do you really want to achieve? And then make them measurable. Because in the beginning, everybody used to say that to me. Well, are you measuring your goals? Are you tracking where your business? I'm like, I'm trying to get some traction. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Do you have your systems in place? I don't even know what those are, but mm-hmm. It's simple if you're thinking, okay, are they measurable goals? Can I actually figure out, like you said, where's the business coming from? Mm-hmm. And it might be so easy because if it's a farming postcard that you got to call on, you don't know the person.
Yep.
And know if it's a referral from your sphere of influence because they're going to say so, et cetera. And make sure they're attainable. Like you said it at the beginning, have that reach, but absolutely you want to have the goal that you will achieve so that you can have that small win and then keep moving, right? And keep moving forward. And make sure that, it's the business objective is relevant to your particular market. It's relevant to your kind of business. It doesn't even matter. I was going to say for luxury, for, commercial, for typical residential investments, whatever your wheelhouse is. Just make sure that, your objective is obviously relevant to that particular pillar of your business. And then have your defined beginning and your end. So making sure that, you have those, that timing set. So we're right now talking about the last 3 months, finishing this year strong. We're going to have something in place for October. We've got plenty of time. I'm looking at my computer. It's only October 6th. We're going to have something in November, and we're absolutely going to have something on the calendar for December so that it takes us into the, calendar first quarter of the year, not the real estate first quarter of the year.
Yeah, and Shirley, I always kind of think of things this way in real estate. If you have a good first quarter of the year, that just sets you up momentum wise for the rest of the year to have a great year. I feel like if I have a good quarter number one, I'm going to be in really good shape for the rest of the year. I just feel that way. Maybe that's not going to be the case, but if I don't have a good quarter number one, I feel like I'm scrambling, right, to make good on my year after that. So I do feel like quarter number one is critically important, and that's why it's so important that we work on these things now, because it's the now that is going to make for our quarter number one next year. All right. The last thing that I want to talk about before we get out of here is something else that we need to do this time of year, and that is doing our online audits for ourselves, right? I hope all of you are trying to, number one, Google yourself, because you see what other people are seeing. You want to make sure that when your name is Googled, you're popping up at the top of the list, number one. Number two, you want to work on your online reviews. This is the time of year. Maybe, you worked with some clients this year. You didn't ask them for an online review. Well, go back and again, another opportunity to touch base with them. Say, hey, I was thinking about you, and I just want to check in on you, see how you're doing. And number two, I would be remiss if I didn't ask for an online review. It helps us greatly in our business. Can you help me out? Can you do me a big favor and give me an online review? People aren't going to say no to you. I mean, they're going to say yes. So, Google reviews are critically important. Zillow reviews are critically important. Anywhere that you want to get reviews, make sure that you bulk up on your reviews this time of year. Make sure that your profiles are updated. We have so many platforms now and so many social media platforms. We have business platforms. We have, our websites. We have, the Fox and Roach website. Make sure that your information is up to date. Please, please, please. If you do not have a profile photo on some of your platforms, the first thing you need to do is put your picture on there. People want to know who you are. People want to see your face. Make sure that you get that on there. Bios, make sure that you fill out your bios. Make sure that you give yourself an opportunity to be seen online. I think that is very important. Shirley, do you want to add to that?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that you wrapped it up beautifully about these, just cleaning up our act, so to speak. I mean, it's just simply put, this is our business. We are business owners, and we are wearing all of the hats. And if you're not comfortable wearing the hat, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not good at the numbers game of it and the business side of that aspect. I have somebody doing that for me. David Knox mentioned hire an assistant. I mean, he made me laugh out loud. It's scary, because then suddenly it's like, oh my gosh, I need to produce enough to pay this person. But wow, the return is so great. So when you are updating those things, it's things that maybe you don't have time to do, or you don't want to take the time to do. Pay somebody, a few bucks an hour to help you muscle through updating your business profile. Those are the online reviews. I think we all can always do better at that. There are some agents who stand out on that, but asking them in the moment. But now at this time of year, if you don't have any transactions, I love what you said. Just send something out. If it's in an email, and have the links there for them. So then all they need to do is open your email. It's somebody who knows you, likes you, and worked with you, right? So they're going to probably open the email. You're going to call, because it's an opportunity to say, hey, I sent you an email, and I was hoping that you could help me out, because everybody wants to be needed. They'll be like, oh, yeah, sure, I never got to it, or I saw it, but I didn't open it. Whatever the case is, send it out, but make it easy for them. We've heard it a million times. I've only done it twice. But you just got to keep at it. So we'll do it again. Exactly what you're saying. We're going to be doing that again before the end of this year. But, put the links in. So all they have to do is click on their favorite spot. Now, obviously, I'm going to share this little tip. I don't really know if it's 100% works, but it's what I've heard. And it sometimes works for me. So if it's Google My Business, do that first. Put that link first. If, if you really only want them going 3 places, Jason, right, you can put in Google My Business, I don't know, LinkedIn and Facebook or Insta or whatever you use.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that, you hit the nail on the head here, and we gotta just tackle it now.
And I did mention that was going to be the last topic, but there is one more thing I want to mention. So I guess I lied. So I do think that it's also something that you want to think about for the future is, not only do you want to make sure that your online business is, obviously prepared for reviews, all that stuff. And we talk about these handwritten notes. We talk about doing things that are familiar to you. I do think that also you want to do one thing that's uncomfortable for you this coming year, and if that is doing video, if video scares you to death, that is all the more reason to do a video. If making phone calls is something that you absolutely can't stand, I'm not saying you have to make 1,000 phone calls, but that probably means that you need to pick up a phone and call somebody and have a conversation. We are in the business of having to talk to people all the time. So, the video, we've kind of harped on this in the past, but the video medium is something that you need to do. Talking to people on the phone is something that you need to do. I know a lot of agents who are scared to death to do that. But I think that just speaks to let's get out of your comfort zone a little bit, and I think for me personally, I have no problem, obviously, talking to people. I'm hosting a podcast. I don't have a problem with video. I think for me, it's more doing the analytical stuff, the logistical stuff, the CRM stuff, making sure that everybody's in my database. That's kind of where I have to do more work. So it's for everybody. There is going to be a place where you don't feel comfortable, is my point. And I think every year, let's try and just not only expand your business, but let's just try and expand your horizons a little bit as a person, right? Overcome that fear, conquer that fear. It's only going to help your business moving forward. So that's the last thing I wanted to say. Any last sage words of wisdom, Shirley, that you want to take us out on?
Oh gosh, no, but I love that. I love it. I think it's fantastic because you're absolutely right. And maybe I'm not sure how many people fall into this category. I know for me, I've got to schedule time for some joy. I get wrapped up in the business, and you forget to give yourself some grace and to do some things that give you some joy. And it's one of the things that at the Ninja installation that they shared, when you're doing your calendar, when you're setting your goals, you're going to do those things that you have to do. But, I love either growing yourself. What classes are you going to take? What designation are you going to get? But grow yourself, work, make sure that you're adding something in there that does make you a little uncomfortable, but also put joyful time on your calendar. What's going to bring you some, to refresh you, to just keep you going, right? So I love that. I love it.
I think that's a fantastic place to stop. I think that was a great follow-up to what I said, because I feel like I've only talked about business, and you're so right. I think you do have to make sure that you schedule some time to refresh yourself, make sure that you have enough energy to keep you going, right? And the time off with family, the vacations, some personal time, that is just as important as what we're talking about today. So anyway, Shirley, I wanted to thank you for joining me today. I know we were kind of rapid fire on some of the ideas that we put out there. So hopefully you enjoyed this podcast. And Shirley, I'll be talking to you soon. I'm sure I'm going to see you on an educational team meeting very shortly.
Thank you, Jason. It was an honor. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the conversation with Shirley this week. We thank her for her time, and a couple takeaways that I had from talking to Shirley. Number one, if you're doing a business plan for the final 3 months of the year, there are so many different ways and so many different avenues that you have at your disposal to do a business plan. It could be very detailed. It could be very vague. It could be, macro. It could be micro. You can get into extreme detail. You can keep it, very broad. It's really up to you and what works for you. And that goes for going into 2022 as well. If you're planning for the year ahead, you do what's comfortable for you as long as you do it. As long as it is getting the job done for you, you can do a business plan a million different ways, but you have to have one. Number 2, be the true pro this time of year. What I mean by that is, number 1, are you checking your database? Are you cleaning it up? These are things that most of us don't like to do during the year. Well, when things slow down a little bit, you should turn towards these items at the end of the year. So your database needs to be cleaned up. You should get rid of that dead weight. You should add in new clients that you've come across that you haven't added in yet. Assess where your database stands. Number 2, you want to make sure that you are reaching out to show some client appreciation for the business that you have done this past year. We're going to get into that in a future podcast coming up, but you want to show those clients that you've done business with, that you care about them, that they are on your radar, that you are their realtor for life. And then number 3, you want to make sure that you do an online audit of yourself, and that goes for reviews. You should be getting reviews from your clients. You should be asking for reviews. Google, Zillow, Realtor.com, just to name a few. You want to make sure that you update your profiles, you update your bios, that you have a business page, that your picture is front and center if people are going to be Googling you, which I guarantee you, this day and age, they are definitely going to be Googling you. So make sure that you do that and be a true pro this time of year. Last but not least, get out of your comfort zone and do something different. Do something that you haven't tried before for your business. That may even be, let's get an accreditation this year. Let's work on getting our broker's license. Let's move forward trying video. Let's make more calls this year. Let's do more handwritten notes. Let's do some more real estate reviews. Do something not only at the end of this year for your business, but, put it into practice for 2022 and your business will expand. Well, that's it for the podcast this week. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back in another couple of weeks with a new topic, a new guest. And as always, if you want to hear something in particular that I haven't covered yet, please reach out to me, jason.ostrowski@foxroach.com. And if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, please make sure to subscribe and to leave us a review. If you haven't done so already, we always appreciate your support. Once again, this is Jason Ostrowski saying, stay safe out there, stay selling, and we'll catch you next time on the Everything Real Estate Podcast.